Hello everyone, this is Sam at StoneFly. I hope everyone is doing great. First of all, I would like to thank you all for your time to attend this webinar on Veeam, Microsoft Azure, AWS Deep Dive in Backup and Replication. And our guest today is Randy Weiss, Enterprise System Engineer at Veeam. And we have co-presenter Mo Tahmasebi, one of our senior solution experts. If you have any question during the session, please feel free to post them, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions at the end of the session. So I'll quickly hand over the screen to Randy to start the presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm Randy Weiss. I work as an enterprise system engineer for Veeam. I've got close to 20 years of experience now in storage, backup, DR, and data center design. And today we'd like to kind of walk you through, give you an introduction to Veeam. This is going to be a bit of a fire hose, folks. We want to introduce you to what our capabilities are, and then I'm going to hand things over to Mo, and he's going to explain in more depth how StoneFly actually gets configured. I think you're going to find this very enjoyable and very informative. Really what I want to point out here is that Veeam has very high customer satisfaction rating. We are at a plus 74 on the Net Promoter Score. That's in the range of Apple, Southwest, and 3 times the industry average for backup. So people really like our support. They like our product. We are an enterprise level company, and with our integration into the cloud and our partnership with StoneFly, I think you're going to find there's a lot of advantages to working with us. So let's talk about our platform. We have been known for a long time for our backup and replication, but there's a lot more to us now than there used to be. We are integrating with Microsoft Office 365. We are specialists at working with on-premise or private cloud based on VMware or Microsoft hypervisors. We have a managed cloud environment and ecosystem, and now we're extending into the public cloud, which is the topic of today's conversation. But in the on-premise world, Veeam is known for being an agentless, very scalable, very simple to use backup solution. And these are our backup components. We have a data store and hypervisor environment. It can be VMware, it can be Hyper-V. Our proxy is our data mover. It's what does the heavy lifting. And our backup server coordinates and manages the environment. We write to a local repository, and in addition to that, we also offer replication, which uses some of the same components. So in this slide, you'll see our Hyper-V or VMware environment. Again, we have a proxy on the source side. It's writing to a backup repository and then out to a tape device if you want to do tape output. But today's discussion is going to be how do you get rid of tape? We have WAN acceleration, which will then send the data over to a DR site, to a target proxy, and we do disaster recovery orchestration with planned failover, planned failback, and there's a lot more to that we can talk about. That's its whole other conversation. But those are the basic components of our Veeam backup and replication product. We also offer, and this is new with 9 and 9.5, and we're extending it further in version 10, our backup from storage snapshots is a patented process. Our integration with our storage partners allows us to create a storage snapshot minimizing the time that a VMware snapshot's in place to seconds, which obviously greatly improves consolidation. So we can do a complete and full backup and recovery from a snapshot. Our proxy will write the data out to a backup repository, and we have further integration with some of these storage vendors where we can tell the array to replicate those snapshots, and then we'll run the backup at the DR site or up in the cloud. So lots of really good potential here for a very creative, very fast, very low impact backup. Our high-speed recovery is based upon something called vPower, which is a patented technology where we actually run the VM from the backup repository. We register the VM with vCenter, and while that VM is up and running and you've got your employees back to work, we're migrating the data online in the background to our production storage environment. So you don't have to restore a virtual machine in order to start using it. And we've been doing this longer than anybody, and we think we do it the best. So one of our really differentiating characteristics. We also do terrific application item level recovery, granular, again without agents. So in this one you see Microsoft Exchange, and we can restore an individual email, a whole mailbox, a folder within the mail. We can restore an individual calendar appointment, task, journal entry, you name it, we can restore it, and we can restore it in a number of different ways. We can send it off to somebody as an email attachment. We can export it to a PSD file. We can restore it to somebody else's mailbox, all without agents and all very, very quickly. Same thing with Active Directory. Any object within the Active Directory cloud, this is SharePoint, so we can back up at the site level, the sub-site level, restore content, assets, site pages. So if somebody goes in, accidentally deletes one of your site pages, you can go in and restore it. If somebody deletes a style page from your library, you can restore that individual item. And you can restore it not only to the original site, but you can restore it to a new site or new servers. That's a unique characteristic that we have also. Active Directory, we can restore any object within the Active Directory or the entire tree. You want to treat yourself to some great unsolicited success stories and testimonials, check out Reddit and Active Directory recovery. And we also do SQL Server very, very well. We can export or restore schemas, tables, the entire database. We can mount it to another server. Very flexible, very powerful. You don't need to be a DBA to do it, but that doesn't mean the DBAs don't have an important role in determining how they want to leverage this technology. But we can restore it down to a point-in-time transaction, again, without using an agent. And then finally, Oracle. Very, very similar. New capabilities coming with our integration with RMAN. So we specialize in data loss avoidance. So, we basically do replication of VMs, VM by VM. We can add WAN acceleration if you're bandwidth constrained. We also will do a restore test. And again, we'll run those restores directly out of the repository in a virtual private network. We'll run a verification job that'll do a heartbeat, a ping, and an application-specific test, or you can run your own scripts, and then it'll send out a report in an email. You can leave it up for user access, to check and make sure that your backups are indeed restoring data in usable form, or even to test patches. Same thing with replication. We'll bring that up in an environment, and again, you can leave it up if you want for user training. Monitoring. We have a Veeam 1 product, which is part of our suite. This does a terrific job of monitoring not only the data protection environment, your Veeam environment, but also your entire infrastructure. Great reporting, great capacity planning out of the box. This isn't a substitute for some really deep instrumentation that you get out of something like vRealize, but as a out-of-the-box, completely usable for capacity planning, for your virtual infrastructure and your backup infrastructure, nothing can compare to this. We also now offer agents. We can back up to a network shared folder, to a Veeam repository. We can back up to the cloud, to an external hard drive. We can do Linux, and we can do Windows. And Office 365. You can quickly recover individual mailbox items with the best of breed granularity, and you can perform e-discovery on email archives. You can select a smaller subset of folders, so if you're in Office 365 and you've got thousands of mailboxes, you may not want to back them back up down to on-premise, but maybe you want to pick the executives, or you'll pick your development team, or some subset of your office. You may want to make sure that you keep a copy of it, because Office 365 doesn't offer a backup capability. And while they do offer 90-day retention in the deleted items folder, I don't think anybody would think that the deleted items folder is any substitute for a backup. So if you need this sort of thing, we'll be glad to talk to you about this as well. So let's get to what we wanted to talk about today. And I apologize, folks, there's a lot to cover there, but I wanted to give you an idea of our extensive capabilities for on-premise. So what about the cloud? Well, we have direct restore to Microsoft Azure for backup and replication. We have Veeam Cloud Connect, so we can send data to, backups to the cloud. We can replicate to the cloud for DR. We can do Veeam Cloud Connect for the enterprise, and this is where we're starting to get into our partnership with StoneFly. So we can do a public cloud backup and a physical backup. So those agents were specifically designed so that we could back up workloads within the cloud, because you don't really have access to the hypervisor in a public cloud like you do with your own on-premise. So we install an agent on virtual machines that are running in Azure or AWS or wherever it is that you're running in the public cloud, and then we can back them up. We can do Office 365 backup, but where are we backing them up to? We're backing them up to cloud repositories, or we can send the data back down on-premise. So this is our hybrid cloud viewpoint. So Cloud 1, Azure, Cloud 2, Amazon, Cloud 3 is going to be, I don't know, Rackspace, whatever you want it to be. But you can use our technology and that of StoneFly to have the best combination of backup capabilities for data protection that you control, get a copy of that data outside of your cloud and into another cloud or back on premise, and at the lowest possible cost point, leveraging the economics of cloud storage. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, obviously. Our direct restore to Azure leverages our Veeam Backup and Replication product. It could also work with Veeam Backup Free Edition. It works with the Veeam Agent for Windows and for Linux. And we have some new capabilities. Our Veeam PN, it's sort of a pun there, VPN, Veeam PN. It's a software-defined networking solution that allows you to easily configure networking to connect on-premise to Microsoft Azure or within Azure itself. So software-defined networking for disaster recovery in Azure. So let's talk about Cloud Connect. Here's our typical Cloud Connect customer today. Pointing to a Veeam cloud service provider, we're doing a backup into a local repository. We do a backup copy job to a cloud repository, which can be your own repository using Cloud Connect for Enterprise. And then we build replicas of those VMs based on the backup files. We can also add WAN acceleration into this, and then again, complete a replication job. So let's talk about Azure. We have different company segments. So you have remote offices, robos, branch offices. You want to back up everything over an SSL tunnel, over the WAN to a centralized, through a centralized IT department, over a cloud gateway. So you can back up from robo or branch, remote or branch office into a central location, or you can send it directly to the cloud through a cloud gateway, which you can manage yourself or which can be through a Veeam cloud service provider. But in this case, we're talking about backing it up into the public cloud like Azure. So those cloud repositories, you'll notice StoneFly is in there. StoneFly, again, provides us with that economy of scale to go up to the petabyte level and much less expense to you, the customer, than doing something where you're building a virtual machine and using that page file storage. And this is using what we all call the blob storage. Now, this works with Amazon as well. So again, we'll cover that in a little more depth here in a minute. But the Veeam Cloud Connect for the enterprise is a flexible cloud approach that enables you to centrally manage backup and replication service for distributed enterprises, for robo environments, and for mobile users. And you don't need to maintain a VPN connection. The cloud gateway is a single port SSL solution that makes it simple. So we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we're making it much more simple and much easier and much cheaper for you to be able to connect to the cloud securely. So no service provider required. You retain data sovereignty. It's the easiest way to externalize to the public or private cloud. It's ideal for multi-site configurations. And customers keep the same interface and console they're accustomed to using, and it just takes a few clicks to deploy. So again, we can send this to your own data center, which is your private cloud, or you can send it off to Azure or Amazon. So this is it in a nutshell. You can securely replicate on-premise Veeam backups with Veeam Cloud Connect to StoneFly scale-out cloud storage in Microsoft Azure, as well as being able to back up workloads running in the cloud. So Veeam Cloud Connect is a licensed product. It's charged by the VM. Again, you're waived if you have an EA agreement with Microsoft or you own over 100 sockets of Veeam. Check with your Veeam account team before you hold me accountable for that, because we have specials, we have promotions, we have coupons, lots of different ways to help you get into the cloud. But as you can see, once you have that SSL secured connection through a gateway, Veeam Cloud Connect will then use on the back end scale out NAS or cloud drive nodes in Microsoft Azure. So again, scale out, meaning you can continue to add capacity as you need it. And you can restore your backups directly into Azure because you've got Veeam infrastructure running in Azure or in Amazon. So let's look at a sample architecture before I turn you over to Mo, who's going to go into the more detail here. So this is an Azure design. And again, you can substitute Amazon for this, but here you got your Azure VMs protected by Veeam agents. You've got a cloud gateway running in the cloud. You've got a port 6180 that's open, so you've got secure communications between your Veeam servers and your Veeam infrastructure in the cloud. Availability console is our console to help you manage agents and on-premise backup and cloud backup all through one console. Your backup and replication server is going to orchestrate this work. You've got a logical repository that you are building that is back-ended by StoneFly's technology that will allow you to present a virtual IP. So basically, StoneFly is going to be the repository for your cloud gateway. And the StoneFly, it's active, 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 active. Again, you can continue to scale out that environment so it's highly available, highly redundant, and you scale out to gain bandwidth performance. Capacity, not so much of an issue, but more if you're backing up hundreds of terabytes in the cloud, you're going to want to have a lot of bandwidth to get that backup done. So all of this can be managed by how you deploy StoneFly. And then Azure has multiple kinds of storage available to it. The virtual machines are running in the fastest but most expensive storage, and then the storage will tier after that. And again, Mo's going to cover that in more detail. But fundamentally what you're getting here is you're getting the best of Veeam, the best of a public cloud, at the best possible value price by leveraging the combination of Veeam and StoneFly. And we can take questions along the way, or we can save them to the end. But I'm going to hand this off to Mo now. Again, apologize for the fast and furious pace there, folks, but I hope you're able to follow that logically, and we'll be glad to go into more detail at another time. Mo?
Yes, thank you. So Randy, thank you very much. You have done such a good job that make it easy for me to present this now. I'm going to start with this. The partnership with Veeam and StoneFly and Microsoft is very strong. We have been able to take what Veeam has produced as a backup and disaster recovery solution all the way to the cloud and make it easy for everyone to scale in the cloud, have the performance and have the availability at the same time and ease of use. I am going to show you traditionally what we have had was the big gap between high availability and backup and disaster recovery. So as you go forward, we try to reduce this gap and make it smaller. So getting the high availability closer to backup and our disaster recovery so we have a business continuity. And so this looks like the curve that today we have with the cloud implementation of Veeam and bringing the business continuity to you and getting it closer to high availability. And if you look at the diagrams, the way the data has been stored and the different type of structures that the data can have, on one side you have e-discovery and compliance issues that you want to keep the data for a long time, and that is closer to archiving. And these are less accessible data. So, and the cloud is very good area to explore as far as, because like for example Azure offers you 99 years of capability to archive data. And then as we go toward business continuity, we get to the backup, snapshot, replication, and high availability. The backup area kind of overlaps between the snapshot and replication, and which basically the snapshot mostly comes from the storage that you would utilize, or a storage stack that you would utilize, and replication mostly comes from the backup application that you would run. And that combination of that can create a high availability and ability to go toward the right-hand side, which would be that's what we are trying to achieve for backing up and getting closer and closer to the high availability and disaster recovery and business continuity. Compliance is one of the biggest concern people have, and security. So in Azure and StoneFly and Veeam, we have paid a lot of attention to that, And we have a lot of different certification. As part of those certification is CGIS, which is has to do with law enforcement, and all the way to the FedRAMP, HIPAA, IRS, and so on and so forth. And if you go to the cloud, you see three different type of storage, especially like we call it block mode storage, file mode storage, and object mode storage. File mode storage, tends to be very expensive and very limited, and then we would have a lot of limitation of as far as the block size, how much you can use, the file size, block size, and the bandwidth. And the block usually used for SQLs or very high performance IOs. The object is what we are interested, because the cost factor is actually, it's justified when we do backup and replication. And those are divided in the cool blob and hot blob. Cool blob mostly for archive, and hot blob mostly for random access, and you have more accessible, access to the data, versus cool blob, you want to store it for a longer time period. And then you have premium or file storage that you would use for random IOs and for, things that you're accessing very, very, often, and that's what you use, which is more expensive. Now, what components do you need when you are going to do backup with Veeam to the cloud? One of the, let's say you have either, multiple servers or multiple location branch offices, and as part of that, you have a backup server, which you have installed your Veeam, and we call it a backup appliance. At that point, you're probably going to get Veeam Backup Cloud Connect, which is basically it's sold per virtual machine. And then bandwidth acceleration, as Randy says, and VPN comes to the play, and you connect to the internet, and then you go either to Amazon, and at that point you either take S3 storage or Glacier storage, or you go to Azure storage, and you would pick up hot or cool blob. At that point, the gateway gets the spin up at that point, because you want to connect your the cloud gateway to the local gateway, which Veeam provides, and that would provide you the VPN and bandwidth accelerations that Veeam provides as part of their gateway. And so once the gateway is provisioned, then the storage comes to the play, which is a StoneFly part, and at that point we would provision the storage either as being S3 or Glacier or hot blob and cool blob, and connect that to the gateway, and that pretty much completes the picture of how we get the Veeam to the cloud. So we will establish, a gateway, choose the storage, bring up the storage node what we want from StoneFly, and then StoneFly would provide the storage all the way to the gateway, and from the gateway goes back to the Veeam on premises. Now, what happens is that how are you going to buy this? I mean, are you going to buy the storage, get an account in Azure or AWS, and get just the license server from the StoneFly? That's one way to do it. And then, or just say, I just want you to set up the gateway, the storage, and everything else, and the Veeam Cloud Connect licenses and all that, and use us as a service provider, basically. And so these are the two methods. I'm going to show you how these two methods are going to go. So this is the first method, which is basically you're saying, I'm going to get my own license. So you go in there and just get the storage and gateway and all that, you spin up, and that would be yours, and you pay Microsoft for that. And then you just basically pay us the license fee. And the license fee comes in two ways. Either you pay Microsoft because we have deployed this solution in Microsoft itself, so Microsoft actually will charge you for that license that we provide, putting the blob at your service connected to the gateway, Veeam gateway in the cloud, or you can just basically bring your own license, BYLD, which is bring your own license. So you come to us and we'll license that instance for you in the cloud. And the second part, you say, I'm just going to pay per terabyte. You know, just you take care of all the transmission fees and, you know, the data ingest and ingress and all that, data in and out, and, you know, a bunch of, you know, things that you might have. And I just basically will, you know, give you one all-inclusive one fee and per terabyte, and that's it. And that's another second option that you have, and per terabyte you pay us X amount of dollars and we'll cover that for you. So this is two different methods actually getting to the cloud. Now, this is one way that we said the first instant that if you are going to actually provision that to the cloud yourself and pay for that in the cloud, this is you go into the Amazon or Azure. This particular thing is showing the Azure. And then you provision our storage instance, and you log into that storage instance, and then you choose the machine type. Usually we take the cheapest machine you can get, because you only need 4 cores and 8 gig, and that 8-3 machines or you know, anything smaller than that will cover that, and that's it. And another thing is that you can either start one instance of this or multiple instances of this. Each instance will support up to 5 petabyte of data storage, and then what happens, you can have the second or third or fourth or fifth, and you can go like that. Sometimes capacity is important. Sometimes you say, I want to have the scale out capability. I have more nodes because I want to have more processing power, or I might have more capability of you know, dealing with performance as far as data in, data out. And once we are in there, we change the IP address to a DNS name. So because if things get shut down and, you know, started up, you will always want to be able to access that, and you take that DNS name that you have in that machine, you plug it into the RGUI, and at that point, you create the storage you want. You choose whichever you want. You want to go to Azure, you connect to the Azure Blob or S3, and at that point, you know, give you login password to that storage repository you just created, and voila, you see 50 terabyte or whatever you provision at that time. And this shows as far as the size. This could be 100 terabyte, 200 terabyte, you know, and goes up to 5 petabyte. And if you need more than 5 petabyte, you start another instance of this, another instance of this. You don't have to reach 5 petabyte completely. You can have multiple petabyte and feel that you need more performance. And because every instances in the cloud usually are limited how much data in and out, you know, the megabyte per second you can transfer in and out of one instance of any repositories. And and that's the same thing you would do. The S3 is that if you have chosen S3, you can have multiple repositories across the different clouds. There's nothing going to stop you doing that. And then you log into your S3 account. The storage is there, and you just go to start your gateway. Once the gateway are started, which is in Azure, you start you know, going through the rules of firewall, make sure that's protected, and then you take the DNS names from storage side to the gateway, and then you connect the gateway, which is in the cloud, to the local Veeam instance that you have, and the connection gets established, and you're there. You're pretty much you know, set up. And this is how it goes. You start going in to the Veeam, the on-premises Veeam, and you start plugging all the gateway information to that, and then backup is almost, you know, can get started at that point. And of course, you have bandwidth accelerations. If you decide to enable that as well, you go to the Veeam and you go to the bandwidth acceleration, and that already, the gateway already gave you VPN, and now the bandwidth acceleration gets enabled, and you know, almost you're done there. And then this is the final things that you will see is the local Veeam is all the way connected to your blob storage in Azure. If you know, the 50 terabyte or X amount of terabyte that you provisioned, you will see it as a repository in your Veeam instance, and then that's it, you're done. Any questions so far before I jump into another two things I have. Let me actually show you that. Maybe that then I can take the questions. We talked about cloud appliances. This is another appliance that if you decide you are starting fresh with Veeam, we also sell on-premises appliances. This is our scale-out appliance that you would just saw that it was in the cloud. Now it's on-premises, so you can have 1 node, 2 nodes, 3 nodes. And the first node, maybe you run the Veeam backup and replication instance, and this is connected to our SAN within our appliances. So our storage that this was in the cloud that provided the storage for you through for the gateway also resides in our Veeam backup and disaster recovery appliance, and then it gets connected to the Veeam instance, and then provides you all the images from or virtual machines that you backed up. All comes here, and you can spin up those virtual machines right from our appliances on premises. But at the same time, this has a key, the Cloud Connect, and from Veeam, and then you would connect to the either StoneFly data centers, Azure data centers, Microsoft data centers, and then an Azure or AWS. And so this is well connected to internet, and you can scale out, and the next unit you can actually do proxies and proxies and proxies. By adding more proxies, these will process all your backup that you have, backup job you have, so you're not getting bottlenecked by any means and form. Not in the scalability factor. You can scale out these units indefinitely, as many as nodes you want. There is no limits to how many nodes you can have. These nodes could be anywhere from a few terabytes to a petabyte, so there's no limitation of how many. Well, there's limitation. We limited to about a petabyte per node, and then you can have 2 node, 3 node, 4 node, 5 node, 10 nodes, 100 nodes, 10,000 nodes, and we have people with 14,000 nodes. And so this can go very big to a hyperscale, and starts from very small nodes of 10 terabyte and all the way to larger units. And of course, we have for this particular webinars, we have Spatial, which we just running for 20 terabyte for $99. If you have that, you are trying to replicate now, please contact us after the show. So we are offering that 20 terabyte for $99 to take to your Veeam out there. And with cooperation with Veeam, we are also have a program for $1,000 to get you started. So these two programs are running at this time. And for the $20, I think we have 2 petabyte. So that would be first 100 customer we can cover with this. So please, if you need that, come to us, and we have 2 petabyte of storage. And this starts next week and until we finish with this promotion. So any questions?
All right, so yeah, we have some questions here. First question, does this also apply to Cloud Office 365 for SharePoint?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, SharePoint and OneDrive backups are a feature that will be released in version 2 of Office 365 Backup. We have released version 1 back in the last part of 2016. Version 1.5 is due out this summer. That's going to add multi-tenant backup and scalability, multi-threading, better integration with the backup console itself. And then in early 2018, we're going to release the SharePoint and OneDrive backup features in addition.
Okay, great. So next question is, how does the licensing work?
Well, I think Mo covered it. Veeam has on-premise licensing by the socket, as we've always done. We can do that on a subscription basis now as well. Everything in the cloud is a subscription-based license, and it's usually by the VM or by the user. So that will apply to Cloud Connect, Office 365, whatever it is that you want to do. When we're backing up cloud virtual machines, we are doing it by the agent. Our agents are very reasonably priced. I think that covers it. And then what you pay to Azure is what you pay to Azure or AWS.
Right. So on the Azure or AWS, there's two ways to do this. One way is that you say, I have my own account. If you have your own account, the only thing you need, your account is basically charge you for storage and traffic. Usually the in traffic is free, but the out traffic and network. So they call it network. They charge you for it, and that can get pretty expensive sometimes. If you have to be careful of how much data you want to pull out at any point of time. So either you go that and you pay for that storage plus the traffic, and then you just get a license to enable you to connect Veeam Cloud Connect to that blob storage or S3 storage. And then, so you pay per terabyte, just the license fee. And then if you say, no, I want to use your account and I don't want to worry about all the traffic costs because it's variable, I don't know how much I'm going to get the bill and stuff like that. And, so if you have that anxiety, then we'll take all the risk and, all the calculation of how much it's going to be. We basically give you a flat rate and say it's going to be X amount of dollars. Just do the backup to Amazon or backup to Azure for X amount of dollar and per terabyte, and that's it. You get your one bill, one, and that we will do it per terabyte. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So the next question, does Veeam on-prem backup integrate well with Microsoft Azure?
Yes, it does. It has an excellent integration, and this is one of the things we've been focusing on. Microsoft is a great partner of ours, and our developers have been working closely together. Not to say that Amazon hasn't also been a good partner, but it hasn't progressed at the same rate. So yeah, we can back up on-premise to Azure a couple of different ways. One way is using ExpressRoute. If you have an ExpressRoute contract with Microsoft, that gives you quite a bit of bandwidth guaranteed. In that case, you don't necessarily need the Cloud Connect gateway, which is kind of intended to provide secure traffic through an SSL tunnel. In either case, our repository in the back end will be configured to leverage the cheaper Azure blob storage using StoneFly. But we either use Cloud Connect Gateway or we'd use just a regular Veeam proxy if you have ExpressRoute, and then we, because that eliminates the bandwidth concerns, and then we write it to a repository in Azure using StoneFly.
Okay, that's great. So I have one more question. How does disaster recovery work with this solution involving both Veeam and StoneFly?
Well, I think both Mo and I both have answers to that question. I'd like to point out that we have direct restore to Azure, leveraging our software-defined networking solution with Azure and our direct restore feature, which has been out since version 9. That allows you to take data that's on-premise or in the cloud and restore it directly into Azure. Mo?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, basically, you can restore it to Azure, or you can restore it to any other clouds that you prefer, or your own data center somewhere else. The trick to that is that sometimes what is your RTO? So so how fast do you need to recover that particular virtual machines or your site? And if it's going to be a partial recovery, or it's going to be full recovery or site recovery. And so these are some of the questions that we will look at, and based on those questions, those answers to those questions, we will make recommendations so we can get to almost a real-time spin-up of a virtual machine or the manual restore of that to Azure cloud or AWS cloud, or vice versa, from one cloud to another cloud, or the same cloud, or another data center which has the proper hypervisor or the resources, the CPU and the memory that you require to spin up to all the entire sites or partial sites. So it all happens, it all depends customer per customer, but usually we have a lot of different ways of implementing that, and it depends how fast you need to recover.
All right, thank you guys. I have no more questions here.
Thank you very much. Please contact us if you have any question after the webinar.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.